Are you an insurance agent that's always kind of wondered the rich history of Prospect Boss? What makes them tick? What are some takeaways that maybe you can use for yourself in your business? Well, you found the right video. I'm here with Summer from prospectboss.com to go into some of their rich history that maybe you didn't know. So, Summer, say hey. Thanks for joining
Hey,
us. I
hey, thanks
appreciate it.
for having me on today.
Going to be fun diving into kind of some of the background that not everybody gets to see. So, I hope the audience enjoys this. Before we go into this, my name is Jason. I'm your friend in the business, and I'm so blessed to partner with some of the most amazing brand new and veteran agents selling life, Medicare, and annuities face to face, but more importantly, in the telespace. So, any free resources for you at jasonfinalexpense.com. And I hope you enjoy this very candid interview with Prospect Boss on some of their rich history. Some of our agents really enjoy their dialing software that they have, which is quite nice. So, let's get right after it. Um, for the audience, when did Prospect Boss even start? Like, how old are you guys as a company?
Yeah, so at the time we were sales stylers and it started in 2011. So the company was not always called Prospect Boss. People who
Right.
have been long-term customers know that to be true. And then if you've maybe seen some stuff on our social media or our website, you may see the word sales dollars come now and again. Or on our YouTube, if you do a deep dive on there, you can see some of that as well. But yeah, it started back in 2011 with the name Sales Dollars.
Wow. So that's a pretty long standing tenure as a company. A lot of these dialers out there pretty hot to trot, pretty new um, in what they do. And you guys have been around since 2011. That's a long time in the
Yeah.
industry. What made you guys decide to even start the business in the first place?
Well, the CEO realized that there was a need for a product like this to engage leads and be more efficient with time. Due to experience in selling insurance himself, he realized that there needed to be a branch between a dialer and a CRM. So that's where the idea of Prospect Boss really came from, was not having a niche product like this really to maximize your time as an agent.
That was pretty cutting edge back then. In 2011, it's not like there were a plethora of dialers. I mean, they existed, but for the insurance agent world, it's not like there was a ton to choose from back
Mhm.
then. So that's pretty neat that that was kind of his thought. And what did your CEO even do before he started up, right, with sales dialers that then became Prospect Boss? What did the CEO even, used to do for a living?
Yeah, so that kind of goes into what made them decide to want to start the business. He sold insurance for a year about 15 years ago and realized, like I said, there was a need for this type of product. There wasn't a company that really branched a dialer and a CRM together. And he just thought it would be a useful product to have. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur, tried some different things in the past, but after doing insurance, realized that this product would really be profitable and help agents maximize their time. So he partnered with a company to do the development side, and it just really took off from there.
Development of doing a dialer like this, especially, before a lot of places existed like they do today, where you can almost like white label anything and call it your own. Um,
Mhm.
the fact you had to hire developers and do all this groundwork to get going, that's a big deal. Back
Yeah.
in 2011, it's not like you could just, go pay money to white label something and it was wrapped up. That's a lot of headache.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think too, with it being so long ago and taking the time to find a development team, it's what's kept our company afloat and being able to grow. We're about to do another system update soon and change the way the contact and campaign features work. We've had delays off and on because that's what happens when you develop your own software. But yeah, and it's really just made a difference with our company, I think, versus just labeling something, because that way we're able to hear our customers' needs out and then try to implement that into updates in the future.
That's a big deal. I mean, the fact that he used to sell insurance, before he even dove into this, that's a big difference. There's not too many places that are, able to even speak to that, to what an
Yeah,
insurance agent may need or a real estate agent may need. The sales side is sometimes really separated from product development and dialers and CRMs. It's more like the engineer mind, which is completely different than sometimes what we want as insurance agents or even real estate agents desire. It's a
yeah,
big separation sometimes from the sales force, so to speak, and the development side. That's pretty neat to know that he had a background in sales before he started this.
yeah. I think it definitely makes a difference too, with an agent first mindset because we try to be very responsive to the feedback that agents give us who use our software.
Absolutely. And this is a question I think the audience would want to know, especially for a lot of folks out there trying to white label CRMs and dialers these days. And was Prospect Boss even profitable within the first 6 months of startup? Because so many people want this like fast, river of money that they think everything's cheap, easy, and free, and they don't have to do much and they can get much and just sit back. Um, was prospectboss.com or sales dialers back in the day even profitable in their first 6 months?
So when I asked the CEO that, he laughed. But no, Prospect Boss wasn't profitable or didn't even break even, sorry, for 2 years. In
Two
the beginning,
years?
yeah. In the beginning, the system was just basic calling system without a lot of features. They didn't have a lot of customers because it wasn't very feature rich. And in the beginning, they didn't even charge a fee. It was a free calling service, but then as they added on features, they began charging for the service. And before they even started, the CEO and his partner saved up enough money to bootstrap the business themselves and weathered the storm in case of not making a profit immediately, which is what happened. So they just had saved a lot of money from prior business endeavors, etc. But no, it was not profitable at first, and definitely not within the first 6 months. So it took about 2 years to even break even.
And that doesn't sound great. Like a lot of folks that are like, oh, I want to white label and do my own. Not that you can't be profitable, but you are that unicorn if that's you. I mean, not profitable in the first 6 months, not even a position where you break even until 2 years. That's a journey. I mean, not everybody's got the stomach for that. And that's why, like, if you want success, you got to have a tough stomach for those of you watching. It doesn't matter if you're an insurance agent, a real estate agent, or if you're one that wants to step into the dialer realm, it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take some grit and determination. And
Mhm.
man, 2 years, that's a long time without breaking even. You got your dialer was free back then because it didn't have a bunch of
Yeah, and
features.
he also expressed the challenge of that within itself of it being free at a period of time and then having to go back and say, hey, we're adding more features. This isn't going to be free anymore. But I think that's just the only way they could really get it started at that time,
Mm,
was to get anybody talking about it or knowing what it was to offer it for free. So definitely seems a little odd, looking back on it. But if you think about it at that time and how technology was then in the 2010s realm, and then also with it being just a completely new product and trying to get the buzz about to begin with. So
that definitely create a buzz. When you're not charging for it. That's amazing. I didn't know that about you
yeah.
guys. That's pretty cool. So, didn't the features were pretty stripped down in the beginning? Sounds like it was pretty bare bones. And then
Yeah, just basic calling from what I understand.
was it a single line out of curiosity, if you know? Did you guys even have double line dialing capability back when it was free?
At the time, I'm not sure. It possibly
Hmm.
was just single line. I can't confirm on that, but I would assume that they started single line and then as it developed, probably some of the features being added on would be the increase of the amount of dialers.
Mm, man, that's interesting though. 2 years and just now you're breaking even, not making a huge profit, but breaking even. Woo, that's a journey. You guys have come a long ways from that, right?
Yeah.
That's the humble beginnings sometimes are so important to hear about. And a lot of times you get the rah rah and you don't get kind of behind the curtain like we're going to talk about in the reality of what it looks like to start a business. That's some tough work. What were the CEO's kind of toughest moments when he started this company, other than not making a profit for 6 months or breaking even till 2 years? That's a pretty tough moment right there for most people. What would he say was his toughest moments?
Breaking into different markets, getting traction and being known in those markets and getting your foot in the door with those companies. So, with that being said, breaking into the insurance market and real estate market, for example. So those are our two biggest industries since we sell specific data for those two, and then just being able to be known in those industries as well. We do cater to others as well, but those two are our primary ones. And at the beginning, with it being a more basic feature, possibly without all the data that we offer now, it definitely was a lot harder then. Because what is our selling point now, a lot of the times, is our lead and data capabilities, versus then it was just more of a dialing system. So it was getting traction towards the dialing and expressing the importance of using a dialer versus just hand dialing and using a phone.
Especially if you're calling data. I mean, that's just mind numbing to call data, data, data with your hands. I mean, that's phone book level. And back then you could do a phone book. There wasn't this big, DNC way, way back in the day that there kind of is now. And
Mhm.
hand dialing would be a mess. I mean, that's ridiculous. And back then, if it was just a dialer, and then he was one of the pioneers in the industry that kind of meshed this all together with the CRM and the system. That's tough.
Yeah.
Um, but that really helped him take off. I mean, that's a big deal. So his biggest thing was just breaking into that market, more marketing.
Yeah, breaking into the markets in general, I would assume, and gaining traction towards the product itself and what it does. No one knew what it was, completely brand new product, didn't have an entire staff of, marketing geniuses behind it on how to get this product out there at that time. It was just trying to develop the product to begin with and then adding features and developing it as they go.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, now it's like the level of tech that you have to be able to do voicemail drops and to be able to triple line dial and have it integrated with leads and to be able to do, even video messaging that you guys have. That's nuts. The features that are available now and to be able to get around, the stir shaken so your number isn't spammed and have local presence. That's a lot of features and a lot of benefits that were created. With this, would you say it was created through a little bit of hard knocks, going from way back in the day, just grinding through to find profitability as an organization? Or
Yeah, when I asked what kind of makes or breaks in the business, he definitely just said grit, and being persistent, being a problem solver, because it wasn't easy. And like you said, you have to be able to stomach this and have grit. Was definitely the biggest part of it. And then also just being persistent and not giving up and believing that you started this for a reason and you started the company for a reason and saw a need for it and believes in the importance of that, and just keeping to persist and keep going with that starter belief.
that's a long time to persist. I mean, 2 years for those of you watching, 2 years before you break even. That's a lot of persistence. That's more grit than most people possess. I
Right.
mean, insurance agents aren't going to go a month without breaking even, right? They're like, I'm out, right? When 90% of the insurance agent force fails. This is nuts to be able to go that length. That really speaks to his character and his ability to weather that storm and to find success. Nobody wants to hear about the storms. No one wants to hear about it took you 2 years to break even and how much grit it took to get where you're at today. Not everybody wants to hear that, but that's big for the audience. Just never giving up, that determination that he possessed and still has to be able to do what you guys have successfully done. I mean, your dialer's got a heck of a name, and that's
Hmm.
a big deal in this industry. And was there be anything looking back when you spoke to your CEO? What would he do differently back then if he kind of had that crystal ball, that genie moment, right? If he could rub a bottle and say, okay, poof, make everything different. What would he do different in the business back then? if he knew what he knows now?
He said that he would have liked to use more mature relationship skills in the beginning of the business. And then on the development side, hire more specific developers for specific niches and expertise instead of hiring people that were more well-rounded. Sorry, someone's knocking on our door.
Oh, that's all right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, money follows really good relationships and having folks that are there for you. I mean, that's
Someone's
a
knocking on the door.
sure. Oh, go ahead. I mean, but well-rounded developers, you've got to get into the niches, right? They say the riches are in these places. If you want to find profitability, you got to really niche down to be able to have a chance of experiencing success. This is big. I mean, the fact that he would focus more on that and listen to industry experts. No different than if you want to go into final expense telesales. It's important that you've got a powerful mentor. And like what we do here at jasonfinalexpense.com, you've got to have powerful people to help you have a chance of profitability. And even in this business, saying, hey, I want well-rounded developers. I need to be in a position where I've got experts in my corner. This is such a big deal for those of you wanting to capitalize in any industry. Doesn't matter if you're
Yeah,
trying to
we
do
just
a dialer in a CRM or if you're trying to do this. That's a big deal. So sounds like better relationships is what he was focusing on. That's what he would do different. That's a big deal. So well-rounded developers, and that's a pretty important thing. Now, Summer, would there be anything that he would have listened to or done or explored that would be a little different today?
Yeah, on the leadership side, he also mentioned that he wish he read more books and listened to more podcasts and techniques on how to apply those more relationship skills. Because I think something that people struggle with in general is knowing how the difference between like being a leader and a boss. Whenever anyone gets into like a management position in general, that's something that is typically a struggle. So especially like starting a brand new business and then the pressures of that and then the pressures of even making a profit. And like we said, it taking 2 years to do so. And then going through, maybe different staff or like figuring out what kinds of staff members would work for you in your business. So yeah, reading more and just being more knowledgeable on those ends.
What has he loved the most about running prospectboss.com? Like, what does he enjoy about the company, his organization, kind of his brainchild?
Definitely the staff is something that he mentioned and
Uh,
being around people and being
mhm.
able to socialize in that way. And when we go to conferences and conventions, it's always fun to meet different types of people. I think that's definitely one of the biggest strength or biggest ups of doing the business.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody wants to run a business, but they don't want to always live in the business.
Mhm.
And I know your CEO lives the business. He has to, just like for us, running an insurance agency with so many amazing agents across this nation, you live it and breathe it. There's no point where, they say, oh, you have to have a balance. There's no such thing as balance, my friends. There's blend. There's no balance because if balance is you're giving up something to then have the other teeter-totter effect take you down. So in a business like this, you got to be in it if you want to be intentional. And that's a big deal. I mean, the
Yeah.
relationships that he has with you and the staff, and it's powerful.
He also noted that hearing or being able to problem solve different issues that agents
Mm-hmm.
are having, we really like when people interact with us in our Prospect Boss user group
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook. If any of you are Facebook users, we do have one called Prospect Boss Mastermind or user Prospect Boss User Mastermind, and you can feel free to join it. But we do like to get some feedback from users there and any suggestions that they have towards the product and then being able to hear them out and then also
Mm-hmm.
just hearing how the product has helped other people make money
Right.
and because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And then also being able to have an idea and launch the product and then seeing how people are able to purchase it and then use it, like I said, to help them make money. So just kind of the whole process too of having an idea of something, being able to pitch it to the development team and then get it in action and working and having our users actually be able to use it and then make their own profits from it.
That's a big deal. And what made Prospect Boss so great? I mean, we know it's a heck of a good dialer and it's got crazy good systems in play. Like, what would you say that he would, you know, kind of pinpoint to this is what made prospectboss.com, the great dialer and CRM that it is today? What would he say if you were to ask him that?
The telephony side of Prospect Boss is our strongest part, and the fact that our product can be used remotely anywhere. We don't have
Mhm.
any hard software. It is all web-based, and our automations and that is, like I said, a cloud-based solution. So you can use it wherever you go. It's kind of like having a remote job, take it with you where you go and be able to make money and call your agents and take time to prospect in different ways that fit your schedule, even if maybe being an agent isn't your full-time job, it's a part-time job. Just the flexibility that the system gives you. But I would say definitely like the telephony side of Prospect Boss is the strongest part.
We've got agents that have used your software, right? The cloud-based solutions on a beach, selling insurance on a bench, looking at the beach. Ridiculous. And all they needed was headphones and
Hmm.
ready to rock. Sold insurance on a beach using your systems. Cloud-based is pretty cool for those of you that are watching. You don't have to be tied to your landline or tied to the office. You're like Pinocchio without strings. That's pretty cool. And the telephone side is definitely, you guys have a strength there in the industry. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's how, like we said, we started out with it being a dialer, a simple basic calling system. So the company's like definitely stood true to those roots and been able to up those capabilities, offering multi lines at that point, etc. But yeah, definitely the telephone side.
where does he see the industry going? I know there's a lot of changes where everybody's maybe seeing a little bit less phone call interaction for some lazy agents, or oh, everybody just wants, texting or AI or all this weird stuff out there. Where does he kind of with his rich background, since he's done this since 2011, where does he see the industry going with dialers and CRMs and all this stuff?
Well, on the contrary, like he does believe that there will always be a need for phone calls because it's the quickest way to get business. There will
100%.
be things to challenge it. Like you just mentioned AI.
Mm-hmm.
The government is helping limit AI calls currently, but he also sees that the industry is going to loosen up. The government really has no intention of slowing down the economy, but regulation after regulation is just really hurting businesses more so. So, I mean, he just kind of sees them loosen up because salespeople are going to lose their jobs if we're going to keep having more FCC regulations. But there may be more opt-in requirements because the regulations aren't going to hold individual people as accountable as before. So, I mean, he doesn't really see AI taking over in terms of the phone call need because that just people would have to, I don't know, opt in to be able to do that. It just sounds a little, I don't know. I feel like the government would definitely be a little bit harder if we're going to start doing like AI calls. But like on the
Absolutely.
contrary, if you're talking about industry moving away from phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think so. Um, I'm borderline Gen Z. I'm like right before the edge, and even I prefer to talk on the phone to people
Right.
versus doing a chat box or
I hate chatbots so
submitting a
much.
ticket. Yeah, me too, or submitting a ticket or
Mm.
something like that. So, and I'm just one person, but I mean, I many people believe the same as me that we still feel a need for customer support, like actual having like people on the phone, which is something our business abides by. But I don't think the need for that is really going to change where the economy is going to go down in that regard, just because of like automating things and having all these subscriptions and not being able to get a hold of someone, or like agents making AI calls. That just takes away the personability from being an agent. Because like, what's the point of having going through a real estate or an insurance agent if it's going to be an AI? Like that, this kind of defeats the purpose.
Absolutely. And a lot of folks these days, I think we don't like the inner, like the removal of personality as much as, some people have deep personalities that you don't want to touch, but there's a lot of good people that you do want to get involved with. And the richness of this business is all found in that relationship that you're building. And AI is not going to build a true relationship. Like artificial intelligence is 100% artificial and lacks any form of intelligence if you think it's going to do your job for you. There's a lot of lazy agents out there that think some bot can just do it all for you or somehow reinvent the mousetrap. It's all about taking good care of people, uncovering the problems that they have, and then finding that powerful solution. That's sales 101. But so many people think, oh, I can just let a bot do it and they're just going to buy from me. And insurance is completely sold. It's not just bought or they'd already have it already. And that's huge. I mean, the regulations are definitely getting there. Opt-ins, such wisdom there. If you don't have opt-ins and then you start blowing people up with AI where it's making those calls for you, avatar leads have been illegal for a long, long, long time. You're in big trouble if you're using AI to make these calls for you. You've got to have opt-ins for that specifically, or you can get yourself in a big bad pickle. It's just not trying to be Chicken Little out there, but it'll get you lit up. And a lot of people are doing it without opt-ins. That's wisdom right there. You really need that in this business. So, what irritates him the most about running prospectboss.com? Like, what would you say is his biggest pain in the britches moment?
I think being always tied to the business until you
Mm-hmm.
have a clear way out. So, until the company is sold or someone else is taking over. But I would say, just from his words, always having to be tied to the business. So, even if you are on a vacation, you do need to still check in and see if everything is good. Every time our CEO says he's going to take some time off, he's in Skype. Still,
Right?
sending messages. He's like, I will be unavailable. And then it's like something happens and he responds, because it's
Absolutely.
just, it's the business. But so yeah, just always being tied to it and never really feeling like you have any time off, or you're just always thinking about it. And there's good and bad parts to that. It's like once you have a good team and everybody's pretty self-sufficient and the ball's rolling, then yeah, you do have a little bit more time to step away, but there still is that need to just make sure everything is running as it should.
Absolutely. And did he ever see a downturn in the business model? And if so, what got him out of that struggle? Because everybody's going to have a downturn in a business model and struggle at some point, right? Like everybody's a hero until they feel like a zero some days. So, when he went through a downturn in his business, what kind of resurrected him? What got him out of that struggle, would you say?
I would say grit and persistence, like we said, but he did see a downturn in 2008 when the market collapsed. A lot of
Absolutely.
people, lost a lot of money and couldn't afford Prospect Boss, but they kept
Mm,
finding it out and sales came back and they've recovered. And then again, there was a downturn in the business in 2021 when Stir Shaken came out, like when the FCC came out with that. But it's also been an upturn for us because we did the research on how to combat that issue and came up with the Stir Shaken solution that we've talked about
oh,
in
yeah.
the past. So something that is important, and what got the company out of that struggle is being able to take advantage of a problem and brand yourself as a solution. So that's something that we try to do because we've seen agents struggle with their most recent thing, is the Sir Shaken issue. So being able to figure out why those calls weren't going through, why people's calls were going to voicemail, etc., because you can always people will always blame their who they're subscribed to. So they're going to say there was a problem with our dialer not working correctly or the lead quality that they have. And sometimes maybe those people didn't even get purchase leads from us, but they maybe been using their dialer, our dialer. So there's kind of a little blame game there going on, but this company was able to do the research and figure out where the issue was coming from and then be able to turn that into a good thing, to be able to help agents and educate them about these issues.
That's so huge. And one thing, you're gonna have downturn at some point. You may have a down day if you're an insurance agent. You may have an up day, but just getting up and fighting through that's a big deal. I mean, Stir Shaken was just like a death grip in the industry for quite some time. The fact that you guys there at Prospect Boss developed that solution, that's strong. And that's what people needed. And a lot of folks would have given up instead of getting up every day. And that's
Mhm.
massive. That's a huge strength. Now, what are some hobbies that the CEO likes at Prospect Boss? What are his things he enjoys? If anybody's curious
Well,
about that.
the company is located in a coastal city, so we are near the beach. And so he does really enjoy going out on his boat. He's had a couple of different ones, but he recently got a newer one. He would like, sell one and get a new one, etc. But he likes to go out on the boat. He has taken the staff out before. We went to like the Fusky Island last year around this time. It was really fun. Um, and then going fishing while he's out on the boat. And he really likes to take his son out fishing. They've like went all the way to Key West before in the past, like on a week long trip, just them. And also going to the gym. He is a big health nut, and he every time we go to conferences and stuff, we like have fruit and like healthy snacks at the table. Um, but yeah, those are the two things he likes doing. Just being active, being outside.
Right, what got him through all the tough times? That grit, right?
Yeah,
Eating
yeah,
healthy.
going to the gym.
Right? Hey, better than me some days, right? So, well, I love it. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed this little candid kind of behind the scenes look at Prospect Boss and how if they want to get in touch with you guys to use you as a dialer or CRM, how do they get a hold of you? And I appreciate you coming on and
Yeah. Our phone number is 1-800-662-4009. And you can also find us on prospectboss.com. We also have Lifesaver Leads, which is like some of the leads and data that I was mentioning. We do have that company as well. And we have unlimited annual and monthly plans for that. And then like with our CRM dialer, we have multiple lines of that as well, 1 through 4. But yeah, and then you can find us on social media at prospectboss.com. Well, sorry, at our Prospect Boss at name. And then like our socials are also like on the website too. And you can click the buttons and it'll take you directly to those websites.
well, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll put the links down here in the description as well, and that will help you because I can't remember what I ate for lunch a couple days ago some days. So it's there for you as well if you're not as sharp as a tack. So I appreciate everybody watching. Summer, thank you for joining with us and for
Yeah,
giving us a behind the scenes look. We appreciate you.
yeah. Thanks for having me.